Welcome Ultimate DIYers. Today I'm going to go ahead and try to polish out my truck. We just did a big project in Colorado, which you're going to see the future upcoming video of, where we're working in a cabin on the side of a mountain. Well, I had to go up the mountain to try to get to the top and checked out an observation tower, and the trees scratched up my truck pretty well. So we're going to go in and try to clean that up. Now there are some power tools you can use, but these are small scratches, so we're going to try to do it by hand. Now what I'm going to be using, the first thing we're going to use is a turtle wax rubbing compound, and this is safe for all finishes. And you have to be careful, most of your new vehicles today have a clear coat, so you want to be cautious what you use. This should work pretty well. We're going to give it a try, and when we use that, I picked up some special little pads that are a little bit more abrasive that will help rub those lines and hopefully blend some of that paint back together. Actually, I washed everything last night, and washing it alone took a lot of the scratches and things out, so it made it look a whole lot better. So I washed everything last night so it'd be dry, ready to go. It's parked in the shade. We're in Texas. It's extremely hot, so we want to get to this quickly before the sun gets over the top of the home here and actually makes it very hard to work. You also work in small spaces or small squares while you're doing compound or wax. The wax I'm going to be using is just going to be turtle wax. Now you can use polishes. There's a ton of different brands. I've always used the good old turtle wax. It's worked really well for me. It puts a good coating on. It'll usually last me 6 to 12 months. I tend to prefer to put wax on my vehicles every 6 months to protect it, protect you from ice and snow, and it also protects you from the Texas heat or any heat if you're down south, so it kind of works both ways. So I did get some wet tire black magic that I'll put on my tires. I tend to use this inside the vehicle as well, and I've never had a problem. I'll coat my dash with it. Steering wheel, if I have leather seats, I'll put it on the leather, and it seems to work really well. It conditions and keeps things from cracking and makes it look nice and shiny. You're going to spray that on and you just gently wipe it off. I know they sell different products for everything, but you know what? To me, I think it's just a gimmick to get you to spend more money. I picked one product that works well. Armor All used to be the product people used for years, and they used it on everything. Then they started coming out with all these different brands specifically for each thing. The other thing you're going to need, now inside the turtle wax, you are going to have an applicator for putting the wax on. It'll come with it. It'll be inside the cap. But to remove it, you're either going to need some fiber towels, which leave little lint, or a good old-fashioned just rubbing towel. I tend to use the rubbing towel more. If I start seeing a lot of lint or problems, then I switch to my fibers. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get to work on this before the sun gets over here and gets extremely hot, because once it starts warming this up, it's tough. One other thing I will be doing that I didn't mention, I did a fits, I guess you'd call it overhaul. We restained it, fixed it, took a lot of the pieces out. I did that not too long ago, and I was parked about 100 yards away, but it was a very windy day. It was the only day we had, so I had to go ahead and get it done that day. Well, the overspray hit my truck. So that's part of the rubbing compound is going to be to take some of that out on the hood, and it's on my windshield. So we're going to go over it with a razor blade, scrape the windshield down because my blades tend to want to stick to the windshield. And then we'll put a fine coat of wax on the windshield to help those blades glide. So let's go ahead and let's get to it before it gets too hot. Okay, interesting little pad. You just put it on your fingers. It is, like I said, a little more abrasive, but you're going to take a little bit of your polish, cleaner compound. This one is rubbing compound, so it's not as much polish as it is compound. And I've got a scratch going through here and here. We're going to start on it in small motions. I think I'm just going to hold it like that. And we're going to work it in. What this tends to do is it actually tends to heat up the paint and the paint tends to fill back in those spots. This is a pretty good one right here. So that one's a good one. You're not going to fill that one, but you'll probably fill a lot of this other one. Now, if you have a buffer, it'll make this go a lot faster and heat it up even more. And what I'll do, I'm going to go ahead and try a fiber towel on this one, the small one. Yeah, and it's still there, but it took a lot of it out. And that's more what I'm looking for. All right. So after you get that nice and clean, you are going to take your wax, open it up. Tell you what, I'm going to back up just a little so that you can see a little better. So we're going to try to, top of this screws off. Wax is right in the top. And underneath this, if you open it, is your applicator right here. So you're going to take the applicator. Try not to get it on this plastic stuff because it leaves a white mark. It's hard to get off. You can clean it, but it's painful. Use some of the wax, and you're going to work it in. Try not to get too much on the edge. Just like so. And you want to work in small areas. Don't get too big. About where I'm at right here is pretty good. And make sure you hit all these edges though, because it will show up. And work it in. Just like that. Now some guys will let it set a little. I don't like to really do that because by letting it set, I possibly create a problem getting it off, especially when it's hot. So I will generally start buffing it out almost immediately. I can still see a fine line of that scratch, but it sure looks better than it did after it happened. Just like that. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a little bit more scratch on this end and towards the front, and I'm going to probably put you on time lapse so you don't have to sit there and watch me buff everything. Now, I've got a lot applied. Generally, this is bigger than I would normally work, but it's still kind of cool. I'm trying to race the sun, so I'm going to see if I can make this work. I'll start back over here, taking that off here in just a second. But I wanted to show you, I go ahead and I put it on my windows as well, because this actually will keep your windows beading up. You won't have to use your, oh, did not want to get that on there. You will not have to use your windshield wipers quite as much on the front, and it beads off the sides so that you can see through in storms a little better. And I definitely get my mirrors. Okay, so I want to show you real quick how I do my tires. Now normally I would do a rim cleaner. I'm not real worried about that today because I'm trying to beat the sun. But what I'll do, I'll set this to spray, make sure I got it working. There it goes. Now that's on, off. That's just it. We have it on or off. So I'm going to wet it down. A lot of guys will go and wipe it off immediately. And mainly I think to keep it off the rim. I don't like to do that. I like to soak it down, let it set for a while, then I'll come back with a rag later and do a light clean if I need to. So I set it, get a lot of it on there, it's also, when I do it this heavy, it allows it to run and down and hit around the bottoms where it's really hard to get. Now you can back your vehicle up or move it forward to help that. But I'll do this. You'll see there's a lot on the rim, but when I wipe everything down, all that'll come off. It'll actually look pretty nice, but it gives it a chance to soak in. So I do that on both rims, or both tires, after I've polished this side. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I will probably move the truck anyway. I'm going to turn it around in a minute so the hood is in the shade after I get the other side. And that way I can see what I've missed when I wipe everything off. Another area to pay close attention to is where you fill up your gas, because you tend to get overrun and it will run down. So I always put a really good coat of wax through here to help protect from the gas, or diesel if you're a diesel, whatever your vehicle is, but it kind of protects that area really well. Because over time that gas will eat away at your paint. You'll have a mark going down. Okay, so the hood did get a little bit of overspray. I can kind of feel it. So we're going to do a little bit of the rubbing compound. What I generally do in an area like this is I'll put a dab on, use my pad, and I'll just start working it in. And that really good circular motion. Try not to get the wax on this plastic like I pointed out several times before. But we're going to try to polish some of this out of it. See if we can. You can actually hear it. I don't know if you can. I'll be quiet while I do it for a second so you can kind of hear. So we're trying to break that loose. And this again, you don't want to get too big of an area at one time. It is hot here. Now where you're at, if you're up north, you may be able to go a little longer than me. Here I can't. Or I can. As a kid, I did this a few times and learned the hard way that it does not come off very easily. So you want to try to do small sections. Even though I'm in the shade now, this truck was in the front a while ago, so the hood is still fairly warm. Let's see. Not too bad, but it's a little warm, so it's going to set up faster. Pay close attention to the front. So this is where the bugs hit. And you don't want to miss spots. That's part of the reason of going in a circular motion too, not just the heat, but so you overlap as you're moving and you're not missing an area. These seams, I'll go up and down just to make sure that I've got it, because they will show up. So like I said on the front though, pay close attention, because this is where the bug splatters and stuff are. You end up with a lot of chips from rocks. There's not a lot you can do about that, unless you're going to get a little touch-up paint and try and do a touch-up on it. But if the little bitty chips are really not worth the time, unless you have maybe a show car, now that might be a different story. If you have a show car, hopefully you don't have a lot of chips, because you're not really driving it that much to get the chips. But if you don't get the bugs off, the bug juice, I call it, their blood, is very strong. We're going to stop there and start taking it back off. But it's very strong, and it will eat through your paint. Kind of like if your car ever gets egged, make sure that you get that off right away. If you park under a tree at a grocery store that happens to have bird droppings a lot, like birds setting in the tree, get that off immediately. It will eat your paint. I've seen guys drive around town with it thinking it's kind of funny, not realizing they're destroying the paint job. So eggs, bird poop, and bug splatter will all eat your paint. Let's see how that's feeling. Still feel a little of it, but it's taken off the majority. So if I had a regular buffer, it would probably take it all the way off. It all depends on how much time and energy you want to spend. Me, this is a work truck. I just want it to look decent. It doesn't have to be perfect, even though I'm very particular about my truck. All right. See, it's already getting hard to get back off. This is why you don't go very far. Any further, and I may not have been able to get this off. I would have been having to use more rubbing compound and go get a buffer. So that's why it's very important not to go, but to take small steps, especially if it's hot. So on my long trip to Colorado, which was 800 miles each way, I got a lot of bug splatter. And so you want to get that off so that it doesn't over time eat through it, kind of like what I was saying on the hood. So I'm having to spend a little extra time here getting this off. So another area that people tend to miss is inside of your door jambs. All this area gets a lot of dirt, and over time it'll even start flaking too, but you want to get that looking nice. So I put a good heavy coat of the wax on. Sorry, it's a little hot out here, but I follow it all the way around, and we are almost done. Hopefully here pretty quick, because the sun is getting hotter and it's getting warmer and warmer. But I will do all the way around, give it a really good coat. And this is another one where you want to try to keep it off of the rubber, because it stains. It'll always have a white look. You can try to dress it, but I used to own detail shops, and I will tell you, it never really comes off right. So you'll always struggle with that. Now, one other step, I could have used Windex and pre-cleaned this, but as you can see, the wax does a pretty good job. And it's very smooth, so it didn't scratch, because it's more of a dust, not really a dirt like on the outside of the car. Pay attention around all the grooves and angles, because that's where you'll leave some that will ultimately turn really white and be hard to get off later. Okay, so everything is done. I did a few things without doing it on camera just because it would have been kind of tedious, so I'll just kind of walk you through it. I did go ahead and condition all of the dash and everything around it. I used the same conditioner that I do on the tires. It works pretty good. Basically what I'm looking for is giving it a protective coating so that it doesn't crack. Pay close attention to handles, things where people put their hands. Same thing on the doors. You'll notice inside I have a lot of my tools and things still in here because I do work out of this truck daily. But I go around and I pay close attention to the seals as well. And I moisturize those seals and keep them pliable so they don't wear out over time and they compress well. Now, if you're new to working on your car and you're young, you've never done it, try not to put the polish here because people are going to put their feet up there and they're going to slide and get hurt. Same thing on the railings. I don't do anything on the railings. So I did that all the way around, conditioned everything. Everything looks good. I went ahead and used some of the rubberized dressing on the sides just to kind of condition it. Now I will tell you, you can put wax on that, but you have to get it off immediately and you have to buff it really well so it doesn't turn white. But it can put a protective coating. The antenna is made out of the same material, and I did polish that, and you can see it's pretty shiny. It looks pretty decent all the way around. So you can do that. You just have to get it on and off immediately. Now some of the areas I didn't pay a lot of attention to, of course, I could have, which is the exhaust pipe a little more, got it clean. I could have also on the inside of the wheel well here. I did not worry too much about that right now. I did polish the back window, and that's really nice when it's raining because it'll bubble up and run off really quickly. You do have a product called Rain-X you can get, and you can go over that, which will definitely help you. Look for areas like this. See where I actually missed? You want to go back over and make sure you don't leave that on there to dry. It becomes a problem later and hard to get off. This is another area you normally don't put conditioner. Now I did put it on here because I very seldom use my bumper as a step up because I have a closed top. So my tailgate is generally down, and I will step off of my trailer onto my tailgate into the back. So I went ahead and conditioned mine. But overall, it looks pretty decent. I think it came out really good. I got rid of most of those scratches that were going up and down the side. This was the really bad side. See another area around the door I need to grab a towel real quick and go ahead and get. I'm going to do a walkover and make sure that I have everything off of it, because once it dries in the sun, it bakes on it. It becomes very difficult, like I said, to get off. Bumper came out very well. A few little bug splats still left here and there, but overall I got most of it off. The next go around I'll probably get it a little cleaner once it's washed a little more. I see another spot down by the door that needs to be taken off. Those are the things you need to walk around and take a quick look. I did do the roof as well. A lot of people do not do the roofs. That's a mistake. That's one of the first places that are going to start flaking and become a problem. So take your time, go over everything, double check it. When you get done, see there's a spot right there. I can see it. Look for everything that you can get off now and make it look nice. This is what I'm talking about on the trim pieces. They get the white on them and it becomes difficult to get off. That's already extremely hot. So I'm going to have to try to clean that real quick. But that's how you actually detail your vehicle by hand. This wax job lasts 100 times longer than what you will get if you go to a car wash with that little spray on wax. That stuff's great to maybe make this last a little longer, but you really need to spend that time and do a good hand wax. It will last you a lot longer. Your vehicle's paint will last you longer. And of course, I happen to have a black paint job in Texas, which isn't necessarily the best color for heat. Your best color is white, obviously, it outlasts everything. Red and blacks are some of the hardest. Reds actually fade faster than anything. So, till next time, y'all have a good one.